Join me in a color mixing and matching exercise. What's up friends, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in another video. Today I'm doing a color mixing and matching exercise, meaning I take a picture book. Any picture book will do. I also take a viewfinder like this one, and I'm just opening the book in random places, looking for interesting colors, and then I just place that over here, isolate the color, and then try to mix it, okay? This exercise is great because it actually trains you to mix colors better, and if you strive to achieve more realistic color mixes, it's really helpful to see a color and be able to mix it. Now, this exercise is not a substitute for being able to judge with your eyes the color you're looking at, because we are using a crutch here, we're using the viewfinder. So it's more for the stage of actually successfully mixing the color. It's not for being able to separate or discern or judge what the color is, okay? This is just actually the practicals of mixing and matching to a color you see. So it's best to both train your visual skills to see something and be able to recreate it, match the value, match the color, but it's also beneficial to work specifically on that, and this is what I'm gonna do today. This is an exercise that honestly I'm a bit scared to go into, especially with the camera, because it's not that easy, and actually I'm sure it will be much harder while recording. So hopefully I can get the colors to match somewhat closely, definitely not perfectly. I'm not an expert. I only did this exercise maybe twice or 3 times so far. I do have, I think, a picture, I'm gonna put it here, of the previous one, if I have it. If not, I'm just gonna be pointing at a blank space and it'll be a shame, but hopefully I have it. And it went pretty well actually for that time, but I do know it's going to be a little challenging to talk and do it in the same time, but I do want you to join me. There's a beautiful bird outside the window right now, but I do want you to join me on this, even if it'll make it a little harder on me. I just want to share this exercise with you. So anyway, let's jump straight into the exercise. So let's get started with the exercise here. I tried making sure you have a good view of everything I'm working on. So here on the left I have the book, I have the paper here, and I have my palette, and I'll try to give you as much view of it as possible. As I said, we'll be using 3 primaries. So we have the French Ultramarine, the Pyrrole Scarlet, and the New Beige. And what I'm gonna do is, because you also need the warm and cool version, I will use also some of the Phthalo Blue, hence a yellow medium, I believe it is, and the Quinacridone Rose, okay? So the goal here is to see the colors and try to match them. Now, again, this is not a replacement for actually being able to observe colors. We are using the viewfinder here just to isolate a color, but again, it doesn't mean it's a replacement for your skills to actually observe it without one. This is more of a mixing exercise, because when you look at it like this, it's really easy to be overwhelmed. By the way, here's the full picture. It's really easy to be overwhelmed by the entire subject, and it's just hard to judge the values. So what I'm gonna do is take this one, and it'll help me isolate the one I'm looking at. So we have this sort of an olive greenish. Now, it doesn't really matter which one you start with, and honestly, this is an exercise I'm still practicing, so I'm just gonna start with the French Ultramarine here, and I will just mix it. I'll put some on the palette, and now because it's a green, we want to add some yellow to it. So I don't know which one necessarily is the right one to use, so I'm just gonna add some of the New Beige here, and I'm just gonna let these two mix together, okay? Now, I got pretty good results when I just did this in my own free time, so doing it while recording could be a challenge. You'll forgive me if I don't get the really super accurate results. So anyway, I'm just gonna start here, and I'm gonna lay down the paint. Now you can see it's really different. This one is greener, okay? It's really hard to tell the difference, but I would say that this one is has a bit more yellow to it. So I'm just gonna add some more yellow and just gonna see what happens. Just have to play with it a bit. Okay. And let me put it down here. And now it starts to feel a little closer, but the thing is, it looks a bit too yellow, but it doesn't look like it needs more blue. So I'm gonna add just a tiny bit of the Pyrrole Scarlet, just to mute it a bit, okay? And again, it's just experimentation and trying to get to a relatively similar result, okay? Because this looks a bit dead, a little muted. So now I added a bit of the red, and now you see it's totally grayed out. Let me zoom in for a bit so you can see. Okay, so now you can see it's pretty much too red, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more blue, and it's just a continuous play with these. So I'm gonna add a little, let's make it a little stronger, and a bit more red. It's really easy to pick up the Pyrrole Scarlet, so you really need to be careful with it. Really easy to pick up too much of it. And a bit of the yellow again, and I'm just continuing. Now you see it needs to be a little more green, so I'm gonna add a little more of the blue, and a little more of the yellow. And that way you just continue to try and match it until you get to something similar, okay? I'm gonna try a little bit of the cooler yellow here, because I don't get the result I want with the other one. And now it starts to feel a little closer, okay? So it's like, I don't know, 80% accurate. Okay, and this is the whole goal of this thing. You just try and slowly get as close as you can. Now, take into consideration that due to the camera angle, by the way, it's really hot, I'm gonna take off my sweater. Due to the camera and lighting, this may look a little different, and I didn't really match it that accurately, but even if I would, you can see that as it rises, it changes a bit. So I'm gonna try to be as accurate as possible. By the way, this feels a little too dark, so I'm just lighting it up. Now it's too light, and that way I just continue on and on and on, okay? Let's try another one, another color. Okay, so I'm just gonna flip through some of the images here, and let's see if we can match one more accurately. So let's go for this building. Now when you look at this, it looks really confusing. Like it's like a yellow, but it has some blue in it. So let's try that one. This looks like an interesting target to tackle. So I'm gonna put my viewfinder here like this, and you can see it's kind of a bluish, but very, very faded bluish, okay? So the first thing I know about this is that it's bluish. So let's start, you know what, let's even go here. It's a bit more yellow and it's just closer. So the first thing I want to try is to get that yellow. So I really have no idea. I'm just taking some of the new Beige, putting it here on the palette. Let me zoom out a bit more. Okay, so the arrangement was a bit of a challenge, but now we got it. So now we have, I just take some of the yellow that I chose as a primary. I'm just gonna put it out there. Now, of course, it's not gonna be even remotely similar. So I'm gonna add a little bit of blue to it, and let's see what we get. To kind of neutralize, turn it into green, and I'm just gonna need a little more paint just to get it a little stronger. So now I have this mix. Now it looks way too green. So what I'm gonna do, let's use just bigger swatches so you can actually see. So it looks very green, and we wanna neutralize it. So the way to neutralize it is by adding red. So I'm just gonna take some of the red here, just try and neutralize it a bit. And now it's beginning to look a little similar, but it does feel a little too green. So what I will do is add just a tiny bit of more red to the mixture. So now it feels a bit too yellow. I'm gonna neutralize it a bit with some blue. Really a tiny bit of blue. And it feels like we are coming a little closer. I think it does miss a bit of yellow, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of yellow to the mix. And we're pretty close, maybe a bit more blue, because the red really took over once I placed it. And so I'm just gonna add a bit more blue. And now you see it's somewhat similar, okay? Definitely not perfect, kind of in the same area, in the same range. Sorry for the blots. I know it makes it a little hard to see the matching, okay? Let's try maybe a color that's a little more intense. Let me rearrange the camera. This could be interesting. Okay, so now we have a really interesting dark green. Let me zoom in a bit so that you can better see this and rearrange some stuff. So now you see we have a very, very dark green. Now to get started here, it looks like a cool green. So what I'm gonna do is straight away, I'm just gonna go with the phthalo blue here. Just pick up some of that. And to make the green cool, I'm gonna add some of the Hansa yellow medium. I'm just gonna let it mix and see what we get. And we're gonna need relatively a lot of pigment because just it's really strong. So just gonna put it here because we want to see what we're missing. So now I will allow myself when I do this usually to use like other colors, not just the three primaries, but here I'm gonna try make an effort to keep it just strictly the primary. So now it needs to be darker, so I'm gonna add a little more blue. So now it's definitely darker, but this one feels much warmer. Now it's definitely close to the right value, but this one's much warmer. So to get it warmer, I'm gonna pick up some of the new Beige here and just gonna add it to the mix because it's warm. It's a warm yellow. I'm gonna put it now, and I lost a lot of the value here. So I wanna make it a little darker. So to make it darker and still keep it warm, I'm gonna use the French ultramarine. And this is really just experimentation. Like I have no idea what will come out of it. Again, you see, it's not like it doesn't like come really easily for me. So now we have a little warmer, the right darkness, but we are missing the green. So let's add a little more of the yellow, the new Beige. So I'm adding a bit more. Let's add a lot more, just to get it to the other side of the scale. So. Now we have this warmer green here. It looks like it's the similar color, it just lacks a bit in the darkness, okay? So I'm gonna add some of the French ultramarine again inside. Now we're missing again with the green, so I'm gonna add a little more of the new Beige, a lot more actually. And now we're getting close. Now it's really close. I think it needs to be slightly cooler. So just a touch of the phthalo blue, really just a touch. So I think this will do for that one. Now I want to get a really warm one for a change. So let's try to find an orange or a red or something strong like this red. This is a good example. It looks pretty like primary and normal, but we're gonna try and make it. Let's use the space here and let me zoom in a bit. Okay, so now I switched to a smaller brush and I moved the palette a bit. So now let's go straight for the one that looks the most similar. It actually looks really similar. So I'm just gonna take some of the Pyrrole Scarlet and just put it in here. So this one looks a little stronger, so I'm gonna take just more of that. And it could be like an exact match, it definitely could. So it looks really close actually. I do think this one's a bit more muted. So in order to mute that red, I think the best thing to do would be to add a little bit of green, but just a touch, like just to shut it off a bit. Or we can just use the primary. So let's add a bit of blue, like a tiny bit of blue. And let's see what we get. So now we kind of got a bit of a more purple or violet, I don't know exactly like the word for it, but let's try getting it a little darker. Okay, so the value is similar, but it's too violet-y. So what I'm gonna do is add a little bit of yellow, just a bit. And maybe a bit more red, because we seem to be losing the red here in the process. And this looks quite close. I don't think like there's any need to do anything. It's like a really simple one. Maybe just light it up just a tiny bit with some water. Oop, went into my green. And just lay it in here like this. And this is pretty much similar. So let's try and go for another one that's maybe a little more orange here. Okay, so I found the perfect one. Something like this. This could be very interesting. I'm just gonna put the viewfinder here. And we can just get started. So first, let's try just mixing in some orange. So I'm gonna take some of the red that I have left from earlier. Just gonna put some red in here. And I'm going to mix it with some of the warm yellow. So let's just place it and see what it looks like. So it's really strong, really strong. We definitely don't need it to be this strong. The value is actually not that far off, but we want to neutralize it a bit. So we will add a bit of blue to the mixture. So now that'll kind of mute it. And I think we need it to be a little bit of a darker value and a little more, I feel a little more red or a little more even strong orange. So I'm adding a little bit of red and a little bit of the yellow. And let's place it in now. So this one's still very vibrant. This one is actually closer. I'm gonna add a little bit more blue to the mixture. And I'm just really adding a bit of everything just to find the right one. And I think this one comes pretty close, maybe just a touch of blue. And I think we got it. So I think this one comes really close to that one. And you can see it's very subtle. It's really like small differences. And again, it doesn't mean you have to match your color perfectly. I, in most of my paintings, sort of strive to get colors that work well together, even if they're not really close to the reference. Sometimes I will go a bit crazy and really try to match it, but you don't really have to, okay? Let's maybe try one more that's a strong yellow or a strong blue. Let's go for this one, this very light, happy blue. I'm just gonna arrange the stuff here for a moment. Okay, so I think this will be good for a last one. So we have this very light, very sunny blue. The closest I can think of here really is the French ultramarine. So I'm just gonna pick some of that, put it here. And we're just gonna put it and see what it looks like. So it looks pretty close actually. I do feel, this may not come off into the video, but I do feel this has a little more red. Now, I'm not sure which red I should take, but I think this time I'll go for the quinacridone rose here. Just gonna take a bit of that, mix it into the blue, and just place it in here. And it looks quite close actually, but I'm just gonna need to make it a little stronger. So again, I'm gonna put more than I think I need. French ultramarine. Maybe let's get it a little wetter as a mixture. Get a bit of the quinacridone and just lay it in here. So this one is definitely too red. This one is much more blue. So I'm gonna add a little more blue. I think actually this one was the closest I got. And it's interesting, it actually makes it look a little more similar. So this is like the final one. So anyway, this is it, like just trying to get it to be a little more accurate with time. And as you can see, it's just a lot of trial and error. Sometimes I get it much more accurate, sometimes it's so much more challenging. I have to admit, doing it while recording is really challenging. But anyway, you get the idea, and hopefully this exercise will help you. Let's wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this exercise, and maybe you want to try it out for yourself and see how you like it. Again, I find it really helpful. As you saw, I struggled with quite a few of these. You want to choose the colors that kind of look like a challenge to you and makes you feel a little scared as to whether you'll be able to match them or not. You want to try very light ones, you want to try very dark ones, just a variety, just have fun with it, have fun. And this is it. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to follow me on Snapchat and Instagram, and also here on YouTube. As you can see, I'm pumping out these daily videos. I hope you like them. I hope you enjoyed the aspect of these videos and also me documenting my journey in the art world as my art career evolves and in watercolor and trying to master this crazy medium. And I will see you again tomorrow.